Hello, dear. I'm Dr. Sujit Singh Kandari, lecturer English, School Education Uttarakhand. And today we're going to start a new session and a new lesson that is Silk Road by Nick Middleton. Class 11th, the textbook is Hornbill and the lesson is Silk Road by Nick Middleton. And this is part one of this series. We have 3 slides of this lesson. So this is the first one. Let's see the points that are going to be discussed in this text, in this part one as well. The first one is about the author, then theme of the story, summary, then understanding the text, and the last part is glossary. Let's know the author first. Nick Middleton is a British physical geographer, author, and television presenter. He has traveled to more than 70 countries and specializes in desertification. Middleton was born in London, England, and won the Royal Geographical Society's Ness Award in the year 2002. He has written several books, including Going to Extremes, which was a bestseller in the United Kingdom in 2001. His book, Silk Road, is included in the NCERT's Class 11 textbook. Middleton has also presented several television programs, including Going to Extremes, which was broadcast on Channel 4. Now let's see the theme of the story. The central theme of the story, Silk Road, is the spirit of our journey and how positivity affects us throughout this journey. It's all about the author's journey through the Silk Road and the determination of pilgrims and the hardships they face. The author, Nick Middleton, takes us on a travelogue along the ancient trade route to carry goods and ideas between the two great civilizations of Rome and China. The account of the Silk Road, with its contrast and exotic detail, describes the challenges and hardships the author faced while journeying to Mount Kailash on a pilgrimage. He hires Stan to take him all through by car. After a tough traveling time and facing serious health problems due to high altitude, they reach their destination, Dakhan. He meets Nobu, and the author decides to complete his pilgrimage with him. But Nobu laughs, saying it would not be possible for him to walk all through, for he had a big tummy. Let's see the summary of this lesson and this part one. The author of the story, Nick Middleton, describes his journey to Mount Kailash in the story Silk Road. In order to complete his Quora, the author wishes to visit Mount Kailash. Thus, he hires San so that he gets someone for driving him up to the mountain. While he was parting with Lamo, he receives a long sheepskin. While he was parting with Lamo, he receives a long-sleeved sheepskin coat. In order to get companionship, the author takes Daniel with him till Dakhan. Upon starting their journey, Stan takes a shortcut to the southwest. He says it is a direct route to Mount Kailash. In order to reach their destination, they would have to cross the high mountain passes. However, Stan assures them that due to lack of snow, it would be easy to do so. On their way, they cross through a small number of gazelles, a herd of wild asses and shepherds that were tending the flocks, and would see Tibetan mastiffs guarding the tents. As they reached higher, the author could feel the pressure and noticed they were at 5,210 meters above sea level. Finally, they reach a small town hall in late afternoon. The author suffers from nose congestion due to the altitude change and chilly weather. He goes to see a Tibetan doctor and receives a 5-day course medication. After that, he feels better and enjoys his stay at Dakhan, where he meets another pilgrim, Nobu. As Dakhan had no pilgrims, The author finds relief and decides to complete his pilgrimage with him. Finally, he asks for their luggage, and Nobu gives up while collapsing across the table and laughing. Nobu says it would not be possible for him, and he also had a big tummy. It's all about the author's journey through the Silk Road and the determination of pilgrims and the hardships they face. Now, let's read the text and understand the lesson. A flawless half moon floated in a perfect blue sky on the morning we said our goodbyes. Extended banks of cloud, like long French lobes, glowed pink as the sun emerged to splash the distant mountain tops with rose-tinted blush. Now that we were leaving Lavu, Lamo said she wanted to give me a favor present. One evening, I had told her through Daniel that I was heading towards Mount Kailas to complete the Korah, and she had said that I ought to get some warmer clothes. After ducking back into her tent, she emerged carrying one of the long-sleeved sheepskin coats that all the men wore. Stan sized me up and we clambered into his car. Ah, yes, he declared, Drogba, sir. We took a shortcut to get off the Chanta. Stan knew a route that would take us southwest, almost directly towards Mount Kailas. Flawless, that means which has got no tainted, which is off without any scar or any sort of blames. That's called flawless. Flaw means blame, problem, some kind of blot. Moon was flowing perfectly in that sky, and it was clear moon. That morning when we said goodbye, they were moving from that place, and there were clouds hanging there, like looking like extended banks, means spread out along with the horizon. And they were looking like French loaves. French loaf is a long bread kind of French people make, and it was glowing pink. When the sun came out, and when it came out, it threw out, made those mountains blush, and they were looking like they had some tinting. Tint means color. They had a color of rose, and they were looking like they're blushing. Blush means feel shy. He says we were leaving Rabu that time. Rabu is a city in Tibet. And there was a woman called Lamo, and she said that she had something for me as a farewell present. Because one evening I had told her through Daniel that I was going to Mount Kailas for completing my Korah. Korah is a spiritual journey. Basically, we do this for spiritual awakening. Like there are so many jats, yatras we do as a ceremonial for the gods. So that's called Korah in that Tibetan area. And then she replied that I need to have some warmer clothes. And remembering that, she ducked back into her tent. Duck back means to bend down. She went bending down in her tent. And when she came out, when she appeared before me, she had a long sleeved sheepskin coat, a coat which was made out of sheep's skin. And these are worn by the people there, especially men. Then Stan, he sized me up. Size up means measure. He measured me with that coat, and then we clambered into his car. We moved into his car. We rode up inside the car, and then reaching there, he said, now you are looking like a Drogba, sir. Drogba are the male person. Tibetan male are called Drogba. Then moving from there, we took a shortcut from Chanta. This is a place called Chanta. And San, he knew a route that would take us straightly to, and Stan knew a route that would take us straight to southwest, and that was kind of a shortcut. He did not move on the exact way, but he knew a different route, so we moved that way, which moved towards the Mount Kailas. उस सुबह जब हमने विदाई ली तो आसमान में एक फ्लॉलेस कहते हैं जिसपे कोई दाग नहीं, धब्बा नहीं, एक साफ स्वच्छ चांद, आधा चांद आसमान में तैर रहा था. उस नीले आकाश में, और बादल पहाड़ के किनारों तक फैले हुए थे। नीचे उतरे हुए बादल, एक्सटेंडेड बैंक्स का मतलब है नीचे उतरे घने बादल, वो फैले हुए थे। ऐसे लगते थे जैसे फ्रेंच लोब्स हैं, लोब कहते हैं ब्रेड के लिए, फ्रेंच लोग बनाते हैं एक लंबी सी ब्रेड बनाते हैं, उस तरह से थे लगते हुए बादल। और पिंक कलर में नहा रहे थे वो, क्योंकि जब सूरज निकल रहा था तो सूरज ने अपनी जो रोशनी थी वो बिखेरी हुई थी, उसके कारण बादल पिंक लग रहे थे, गुलाबी लग रहे थे। और जो दूर पहाड़ थे, उनकी जो टॉप थे, उनकी जो चोटियां थी, वो ऐसा लगता था माना जैसे शर्मा रहे हो, ब्लश कर रहे हो। ब्लश माने शर्माना, टिंट कहते हैं रंग के लिए। वो माना शर्मा रहे हो, उस शर्म के कारण से ऐसा लगता जैसे गुलाबों की सी रंगत उन पे छा गई, उन पहाड़ों की चोटियों पे, बर्फ से ढकी हुई। अब हम राबू से जा रहे थे, राबू जगह का नाम है। कहता हम जब राबू से निकल गए थे अब, तो लामो ने मेरे को कहा, लामो कोई महिला है, उसने कहा, तब लामो ने कहा कि मेरे लिए उसके पास एक तोहफा है विदाई का। एक शाम को ऐसे ही मैंने डेनियल के माध्यम से लामो को कहा था कि मैं माउंट कैलाश जा रहा हूं अपनी कोरा को पूरा करने के लिए। कोरा माने धर्म यात्रा। हम जो यात्राएं करते हैं, जैसे हम यहाँ पर बहुत सारे देवी देवताओं की जात देखते हैं, ऐसी इस तरह की यात्राओं को वहां कोरा कहते हैं। जैसे यहाँ की बात करें उत्तराखंड की, तो जो नंदा देवी की राज जात है, वो दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी जात में से एक आती है, यात्राओं में से एक आती है। इस तरह को उसको कोरा कहते हैं जो लोग वहां तिब्बत के एरिया में जो लोग धर्म यात्राएं करते हैं। और उसने तब कहा था कि मेरे को कुछ गर्म रखने चाहिए, और ये कहने के साथ ही वो अपने टेंट के अंदर गई, डक माने झुकना, झुकी वो टेंट के अंदर गई। और जब बाहर निकली वहां से मेरे सामने आई, तो उसके हाथ में एक लंबी सी बाहों का, स्लीव का, एक भेड़ की खाल का बना, शीप स्किन का बना कोट था। वो कोट जिसको वहां सब अधिकतर पुरुष पहना करते हैं। तब इस्तान ने मेरे को नापा, साइज अप किया उसने, उसको नापा उस कोट के साथ में, और हम तब उसकी कार में चढ़ गए। क्लैम्बर माने चढ़ना। हम सहारा लेकर कार में चढ़े, और तब अंदर पहुंच करके तब उसने कहा स्थान ने कि अब आप सर ड्रोगबा लग रहे हैं। अब आप यहाँ के, ड्रोगबा कहते हैं वहां के जो पुरुष हैं, जो तिब्बतन पुरुष, उनको ड्रोगबा कहते हैं। हमने चांगटा के लिए जाने के लिए एक शॉर्टकट लिया, हम मुख्य मार्ग से नहीं गए। स्थान को एक रास्ता मालूम था, उसको रूट मालूम था, जो सीधे हमको साउथ वेस्ट की तरफ ले जाता था, पश्चिम दक्षिण पश्चिम दिशा में लेकर के जाता था, जो सीधे माउंट कैलाश पे जाता है। Let's read some word meanings. Flawless, without any mistake. Flaw means mistake or blame. Extended banks, a big stretch of low clouds. French loaves, French bread. Tint, a shade or variety of a color. Blush, show shyness, embarrassment, or shame by becoming red in the face. Rabu is a village in Tibet. Kora means pilgrimage, Devyatra or Jat, a term that is often used to refer to the entire pilgrimage experience in the Tibetan regions. Flawless कहते हैं बिना दाग धब्बे के, जिस पर कोई दाग ना हो। Extended banks means फैला हुआ विस्तार। French loaves means French bread, French रोटी। Tint कहते हैं कलर के लिए, शेड के लिए। Blush माने शर्माना, शर्मिंदा होना, लाल पड़ जाना। राबू एक गांव है तिब्बत में। कोरा धर्म यात्रा के लिए कहते हैं, जो जात होती है उनके लिए कहते हैं। डकिंग डक से बना है। डकिंग it comes from duck, the main verb is duck. Lower the head of the body quickly to avoid a blow or missile, or so as not to be seen. Size up means measure. Clambered means climb or move in an awkward and laborious way, typically using both hands and feet. Drogba, Tibetan male. Changta, the Changta, alternatively spelled Changta or Quanta, is a part of the Tibetan plateau. Stan is Stan. The pronunciation of this word is Stan. Ducking, duck main verb duck है, उसका मतलब तो झुकना, किसी चीज से बचना। साइज अप माने नापना। क्लैम्बर कहते हैं चढ़ना, किसी जगह में सहारे से, हाथ पांव से चढ़ना। ड्रोगबा, तिब्बतन जो पुरुष उनको ड्रोगबा कहते हैं। चांटा जो मूल शब्द है उसकी स्पेलिंग चांटा है, या उसको क्वांटा भी कहते हैं, वो तिब्बतन प्लेटो का एक हिस्सा है। स्थान जो वर्ड है वो जो TSETAN है, ये इसका जो प्रोनाउंसिएशन है, इसका जो उच्चारण है वो स्थान है। It involved crossing several fairly high mountain passes. He said, but no problem, sir, he assured us, if there is no snow. What is the likelihood of that? I asked. Not knowing, sir, until we get there. From the gently rolling hills of Rabu, the shortcuts took us across vast open plains with nothing in them except a few gazelles that would look up from nibbling the arid pastures and frown before bounding away into the void. Further on, where the plains became more stony than grassy, a great herd of wild ass came into view. Stan told us we were approaching them long before they appeared. Kang, he said, pointing towards a far-off pall of dust. As hills started to push up once more from the rocky wilderness, we passed solitary drogbas tending their flocks, sometimes men, sometimes women. These well-wrapped figures would pause and stare at our car, occasionally waving as we passed. In all this journey, there were many high mountain passes. Pass is basically a way between mountains. And then he said, Stan said, but it's not a problem, sir. But if there is no snow, if there is snow, then there's a problem because these passes are dangerous then because we can slip into any of these passes. But if there's no snow, then we can see, we can easily negotiate. And then I asked, what is the likelihood? Likelihood means possibility that there will be snow. He said, not knowing, sir. I don't know. And we cannot know until we reach there, we get there. Then from those hills which were very gently rolling means which are small hills, just like we found here in Uttarakhand, we found hills in Kumaon region. They are called Damals. So from those rolling hills, small gentle rolling hills, we took a shortcut from there. And then we reached to wide open plains. They were quite big plains, vast means big. And there were nothing in those plains except few gazelles. Gazelle is a variety of deer which has got long horns. And these wild deers, they would look us while nibbling in the arid pastures. Nibble means to chew. Arid means dry, and pasture means field of grasses. Those are called barren lands. So they would look us while nibbling those grasses in those dry piece of lands. And they also frown. Frown means to be afraid of. And they also get afraid of, and then they bound away from us into open space, into void. Bounding away means to jump up and move away. And they would jump up and move away in some open space, in a open place. And after that, moving from those vast plains, we kept on going, and then we found the landmark was more stony. It was more full of stones than grass. Grass was less now. There were more stones now. And then we saw a big mass of wild ass. Then Stan told us that we are going to reach to them before they appear to us. That we will be just near to them in a while. And then he said, Kang. There was a far off pall of dust. Pall means layer. Far off means quite far. There was a dust layer quite far. And looking at that, he said it's a Kang. Kang is basically those wild ass. They are called Kang in that part of Tibet. And then hills started. Those hills had rocky wilderness. They were rocks. It was a wild place. It was wilderness means where nobody, lonely. And then moving ahead, we passed some drogbas. They were in their solitary hutments. Solitary means where there's nobody, alone. They were tending their flocks. Tending means to look after. They had flocks of those animals, whichever they had, and they were looking after those animals, those flocks. Flock means group of animals. These were sometimes men, sometimes women, but all of them, they were well wrapped. They were wrapped all over their body and their hands, because that part is quite dry and it's windy also. So to protect their hand, their face from those winds, just to make sure that they don't get hurt by that dry wind. So they were well wrapped. They were wrapped in hands, on their face. They would stare at our car. They watch our car, and sometimes few of them, they wave also. They shake. They just wave their hands also. They move their hands also. इस पूरे मार्ग के दौरान हमको कुछ ऊंचे पहाड़ी दर्रे मिले. दर्रे कहते हैं पहाड़ के बीच की खाली जगह के लिए. लेकिन स्टान ने कहा, नहीं सर, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. हाँ, तब तक दिक्कत नहीं है जब तक बर्फ हमें नहीं मिलती. और तब मैंने उससे पूछा कि इसकी क्या लाइक्लीहुड है, इसकी क्या संभावना है, बर्फ हमको ना मिले या बर्फ हमको मिले. उसने कहा, नहीं सर, मैं नहीं जानता हूं, तब तक नहीं जब तक कि हम वहां पहुंच नहीं जाते. तभी पता पड़ेगा जब पहुंचेंगे. और राबू से निकलने के बाद, राबू में जो जेंटल रोलिंग हिल थी, चलती रॉलिंग कहते हैं छोटी छोटी पहाड़ियां, दमाल जिनको हम कहते हैं। हम कुमाऊं में जब जाते हैं तो कुमाऊं में दमाल मिलते हैं, छोटी छोटी पहाड़ियां मिलती हैं, जबकि बाकी जो उत्तराखंड का हिस्सा है उसमें आपको बड़े ऊंचे पहाड़ मिलते हैं। तब हम एक शॉर्टकट से निकले और निकलने के बाद जब उन हिल को छोड़ने के बाद उस राबू से हम अब खुले मैदान में आ गए थे, ओपन प्लेन में आ गए थे, बड़े खुले मैदान में थे। उनमें कोई जानवर नहीं थे सिवाय कुछ हिरणों के, गैजल कहते हैं हिरण के लिए, जिनके बड़े सींग होते हैं, उनको गैजल कहते हैं। वो हमको देखते बीच बीच में वो घास कुतर रहे थे, निबल माने कुतरना, और उस एरिड माने सूखा, पास्चर कहते हैं घास के मैदान के लिए, उन घास के मैदानों में, चरागाहों में, पास्चर माने चरागाह, उन सूखे चरागाहों में घास को कुतरते थे, हमको देखते थे, और वो डर करके, फ्रॉन माने डरना, डर करके दूर चले जाते थे। बाउंडिंग अवे, बाउंडिंग अवे कहते हैं कूदना, कूद करके दूर चला जाना। वो कूदते उछल करके एक वाइड माने रिक्ति, खाली जगह पर भागते। उसके आगे जब हम निकले उन मैदानों से, और आगे हम निकले घास के मैदानों से, तो जो आगे जमीन थी वो सतही होने के कारण, प्लेन सीधी के बजाय अब उसमें घास के बजाय हमको पत्थर दिखने लगे थे। और तभी हमें दूर एक गधों का, एक जंगली गधों का, वाइल्ड एस का एक झुंड नजर आया, बड़ा सा, ग्रेट हर्ड मींस बड़ा सा झुंड। और इस्तान ने कहा कि हम उन पर उतने समय से पहले पहुंच जाएंगे जितना हमें वो दिख रहे हैं, हम जल्दी पहुंच जाएंगे उन तक। और फिर उसने कहा क्यांग, क्यांग उन जंगली गधों के लिए कहते हैं जो तिब्बत में पाए जाते हैं, उनको वहां क्यांग कहते हैं। और दूर उसने तब एक धूल की एक परत उठती थी, फार ऑफ मींस दूर, पॉल कहते हैं परत के लिए, धूल की एक परत उठ रही थी, उस परत को देख करके कहा कि ये जंगली गधे हैं, क्यांग है। और जैसे ही पहाड़ शुरू होते थे, एक बार फिर से वहां पर हमें फिर से वो जो रॉकी वाइल्डरनेस है, पथरीला एक जंगल हमें मिलने लगा, जहां नितांत अकेला। हम वहां से गुजरे तो हमें कुछ अकेले में, सॉलिटरी मींस एकांत निर्जन में, कुछ ड्रोगबाज मिले, वहां के जो लोग थे वो मिले। वो अपने फ्लॉक्स को, अपने जानवरों के झुंड को, उनको देख रहे थे, टेंड कर रहे थे, टेंड मींस उनकी निगरानी करना, निगरानी कर रहे थे वो। कभी कभी ये जो ड्रोगबा होते थे पुरुष होते थे, कभी कभी महिलाएं होती थी, और ये सारे के सारे कपड़ों से पूरी तरह से लिपटे हुए रहते थे, वेल रैप्ड रहते थे, क्योंकि वो ठंडा इलाका है, वहां पर ठंड होती है और साथ में हवा चलती है तेज। उस हवा के कारण से, उस रूखी हवा के कारण से हाथ पांव फटते हैं, तो वो अपने को बचाने के लिए अपने को पूरा प्रोटेक्ट रखते हैं। और वो बीच बीच में हमको, वो तब हमें हमारी कार को देखते और कभी कभार हम पे हाथ हिला देते हमारी तरफ, और कभी कभार हमारी तरफ हाथ हिला देते। लेट्स सी वर्ड मीनिंग्स। पास, a route over or through mountains. Likelihood, possibility. Gazelles, small, slender antelope that typically has curved horns. Nibbling means chew. Arid pastures, dry grazing fields. Frown, a facial expression indicating disapproval, displeasure. Bounding away, jumping away from. Khang, Khang is an alternative form of Kiang, which refers to the wild ass of Tibet. Far off, remote in time or space. Pall means a dark cloud of smoke, dust, etc. Solitary, lonely, done or existing alone. Tending means care for or look after, give one's attention to. पास एक पहाड़ी रास्ता है जो पहाड़ों के बीच से गुजरता है। लाइक्लीहुड माने संभावना। गैजल्स छोटे से, पतले से, दुबले से हिरन की एक प्रजाति है जिसके जो सींग है मुड़े हुए होते हैं। निबल कहते हैं चबाने के लिए। एरिड पास्चर माने सूखे घास के मैदान। फ्रॉन डर का एक भाव। बाउंडिंग अवे मतलब होता है कूद करके दूर हट जाना। खांग तिब्बतन जो जंगली गधे हैं उनको खांग कहते हैं, इसको क्यांग भी कहते हैं। फार ऑफ का मतलब होता है दूर, वो समय में दूर हो सकता है, वो जगह में दूर हो सकता है। पॉल माने परत, गहरी परत, धुंध की, धुएं की। सॉलिटरी अकेला, निर्जन। टेंड कहते हैं देखभाल करना, ध्यान देना। When the track took us close to the animals, the sheep would take evasive action, veering away from the speeding vehicle. We passed nomads' dark tents pitched in splendid isolation, usually with a huge black dog, a Tibetan mastiff, standing guard. These beasts would cock their great big heads when they became aware of our approach and fix us in their sights. As we continued to draw closer, they would explode into action, speeding directly towards us like a bullet from a gun and nearly as fast. These shaggy monsters, blacker than the darkest night, usually wore bright red collars and barked furiously with massive jaws. They were completely fearless of our vehicle, shooting straight into our path, causing sound to break and swerve. The dog would make chase for 100 meters or so before easing off, having seen us off the property. When this road moved further to the animals, the sheep which were there, they would take evasive action. Evasive means something which is opposite. And then they veered away. Veer means to move away. They would move away from our speeding vehicle. And then we pass some nomad dog tents. Nomad means living in remote areas in ancient times. Nomad means people from ancient times. They were people like looking there, people living there where they look like living people in the old age. That's why it's called nomad. Their tents were dark. That means there was no light in it. And they were pitched. That means they were situated in that splendid isolation. It was isolated place, but it was splendid. It was magnificent. Usually there was a huge black dog everywhere, and it was a Tibetan Mastiff. Mastiff is basically a big, large animal, and it was standing guard there. It was there to guard those tents. And these beasts, they were looking like some kind of beasts. They would cock their great big heads. Cock means to lift. They had big heads and they lift us. When they just were aware, they were just thinking that we were approaching near to them. And then they would fix us in their sights. They would fix their eyes on us. And as we continued closer and closer, suddenly they would explode into action. There was like an explosion. And they would come speedily direct towards us, and just like a bullet from a gun. And their speed was as fast as a bullet. And these shaggy monsters, shaggy means with big hair. These monsters were quite shaggy. They had big hair on their body. And they were looking like they were so dark that even the darkest night was not so dark like them. They were so black. And usually most of them had red collars on their neck. And when they barked furiously. It was so angersome. They were so much furious. They were so fury about that. Fury means anger. And their jaws were very massive. They were too big. They were completely fearless of us, our vehicle. They had no fear of us. And they come straight into our path, just like someone has shot a bullet. And this made Stan to brake the car and stop the car. Stop means to move here and there. And then these dogs chase our car nearly about 100-200 meters. And then they ease off. When they understood that we are away from their property, they would stop running after us. जब वो रास्ता, पहाड़ी रास्ता हमको उनके जानवरों के और नजदीक लेकर के जाता था, गाड़ी उनके नजदीक जाती थी, तो जो भेड़ थी, वो भेड़ एक विपरीत एक्शन लेती थी, इवेजिव, एक अलग से उसके खिलाफ एक एक्शन लेती थी, और उस एक्शन में वो गाड़ी से दूर भागती थी. वीर अवे, वीर मींस मूव. वो दूर भागती थी उस गाड़ी से, जो हमारी गाड़ी थी. हम रास्ते में हमने कुछ टेंट देखे, अंधेरे टेंट थे. ऐसा लगता जैसे यहाँ पर किसी आदमकालीन जमाने के लोग रहते हैं. नोमैड कहते हैं आदमकालीन के लिए. वो गड़े हुए थे टेंट उस आइसोलेशन में, उस एकांत में, जो बड़ा शानदार था, बहुत स्प्लेंडेड था, गजब का शानदार. उस निर्जन में बसे हुए थे, वो टेंट लगे हुए थे. उन सब टेंट के बाहर सामान्यतः एक बड़ा सा तिब्बतन मैस्टिफ मिलता था. मैस्टिफ कहते हैं विशालकाय प्राणी के लिए. एक बड़ा काला सा कुत्ता, जो तिब्बतन कुत्ते होते हुए मिलते थे, वो वहां पर चौकीदारी का काम कर रहा होता था उस बाहर उस टेंट के. और वो हमें देख करके अपना सर को उठा लेते, उनके बड़े विशालकाय सर को उठाते. कॉक कहते हैं उठाने के लिए. जब उनको इस बात का आभास होता है कि हम उनके नजदीक पहुंच रहे हैं, तो वो अपने सर को उठा लेते और हमको अपनी निगाहों में गाड़ लेते. हो जैसे हम नजदीक जाते हैं और उनके, अचानक ऐसा लगता है जैसे विस्फोट की तरह वो एक्शन में आ गए हैं, और वो हमारी तरफ भागते सीधे, और इतनी तेजी भागते जैसे माना किसी बंदूक से गोली निकली हो, और लगभग उतनी ही तेज भी. ये जो दैत्य थे बड़े झबरेले थे. ये शागी कहते हैं झबरेला के लिए. झबरेला नहीं जिसके बड़े बड़े बाल होते हैं. और ये इतने काले थे कि आदि जो गहरी अंधेरी काली रात है उससे भी काले थे. सामान्यतः इन्होंने लाल रंग के पट्टे पहने होते थे, और जब ये भौंकते थे तो इनके बड़े गुस्से में जब भौंकते थे तो इनके बड़े बड़े जबड़े दिखाई देते थे. ये हमारी गाड़ी से बिल्कुल नहीं डरते थे. और भाग करके सीधे हमारी गाड़ी के रास्ते में आते थे, जिस कारण से स्थान को बार बार गाड़ी को ब्रेक लगाने पड़ते और गाड़ी को इधर से उधर रास्ते में झुलाना पड़ता। सब कहते हैं झुलाने के लिए, इधर से उधर मूवमेंट कराना। ये कोई लगभग 100 मीटर तक हमारे पीछे भागते और जब इस बात को उनको एहसास होता कि हम उनकी प्रॉपर्टी से दूर हो गए, उनके टेंटों से दूर हो गए, तब इनकी रफ्तार कम पड़ जाती। यहाँ पर एक फिगर ऑफ स्पीच अलंकार यूज किया हुआ है, blacker than the blackest night. This is hyperbole. Figure of speech has been used. It's a hyperbole. एक अलंकार प्रयोग किया गया है, अतिशयोक्ति अलंकार। Blacker than the darkest night का मतलब है जहां पर कुत्ते को उस तरह की उसकी उपमा दी गई है कि वो अंधेरी रात से भी गहरे काले। Let's see word meaning. Evasive, directed towards avoidance or escape. Veering, change direction suddenly. Nomads, a member of a people that travels from place to place to find fresh pastures for their animals, has no permanent home. Splendid isolation, used to emphasize the isolation of a person or thing. Mastiff, dogs of a large, strong breed with drooping ears and Mastiff, dogs of a large, strong breed with drooping ears and pendulous lips. Cock, lifting up. Shaggy, having long, thick, unkempt hair or fur. Furiously angry. Shrub, change your course to change direction abruptly. Evasive का मतलब होता है दूर हट जाना किसी जगह में, किसी एक ऐसी दिशा में जहां आप बचने के लिए जा रहे हो। वीरिंग कहते हैं अपनी जगह को, अपनी दिशा को बदल देना। नोमैड उन लोगों को कहते हैं जो एक जगह से दूसरी जगह में जाते हैं, जिनको हम खाना बदोश कहते हैं। वो एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाते हैं, जैसे पुराने समय में लोग चलते थे अपने जानवरों के लिए, खाने के लिए एक जगह से दूसरी जगह की तलाश में, जैसे पुराने समय में लोग चलते थे, खाना बदोश। स्प्लेंडेड आइसोलेशन का मतलब होता है एक ऐसा जगह जहां पर जो बहुत शानदार हो, पृथक हो, एकदम अलग। मैस्टिफ यहाँ पर कुत्तों के लिए यूज किया गया है, बड़े विशालकाय जिनके बड़े बड़े कान हैं और इनके बड़े से होंठ हैं लटके हुए। कॉक का मतलब होता है उठाना। शैगी का मतलब होता है लंबे गहरे झबरीले बाल। फ्यूरियस का मतलब है क्रोधित। शॉक का मतलब होता है अपनी दिशा को बदलना। It wasn't difficult to understand why ferocious Tibetan mastiffs became popular in China's imperial courts as hunting dogs, brought along the Silk Road in ancient times as tribute from Tibet. By now, we could see snow-capped mountains gathering on the horizon. We entered a valley where the river was wide and mostly clogged with ice, brilliant white and glinting in the sunshine. The trail hugged its bank, twisting with the meanders as we gradually gained height and the valley sides closed in. The turns became sharper and the ride bumpier. Stan now in third gear as we continued to climb. The track moved away from the icy river, laboring through steeper slopes that spotted big rocks daubed with patches of bright orange lichen. Beneath the rocks, hunks of snow clung on in the near permanent shade. I felt the pressure building up in my ears, held my nose, and snorted and cleared them. This was not difficult to understand, I says. Why these big, angry, arrogant Tibetan dogs became so much popular in China's royal courts as hunting dogs. Now I was understanding that. It was not difficult to understand now after seeing this. And these were brought by the Silk Road in ancient times, and they were brought as tribute, as gift from Tibet. Whoever people used to go from Tibet, they used to gift these dogs. We have also still here in Uttarakhand, if we say, there are those Bhotia dogs. People who live in the regions there in Chamoli, Rudraprayag, those come from there. People them ask them, do you have any Bhotia dog from there? Have you brought any Bhotia dog from there? So they are kind of tribute from their gifts from there. Actually, that is the breed of those Tibetan dogs, these Bhotia dogs. By now, he says we could see snow-capped mountains. By now, we could see mountains which were high on the horizon, gathering means reaching up. And they had snow on their top. They were looking like they had caps, wearing white caps worn on their heads. And then we entered a valley after that, where there was a river which was quite wide, and it was mostly clogged. Clog means cover up. It was covered with ice, and it was brilliantly white and glinting. Glint means shine. In the sunshine, it was shining. It was white. And the trail means a small way, small track. It hugged the bank. It was moving along the bank of the river, and it was moving with those meanders. Meanders are the stones which come in between. So because of those, it was moving here and there. That road was taking twist and turn. And then we took height. The road was moving towards up, and then the valley closed in. After moving from there, now there were more. Ride was more bumpier. There are more bumps on it. Bumping go up and down, and turns were sharp now. And Istan was continued in moving in third gear itself. The car was in third gear, and track now moved from those. Now the track moved from that icy river, and we had to. That car had to have a lever to move through those steeper slopes. Steep means which is quite right height, and there were big rocks sporting. Sports means to come out. They had bright orange lichen daubed on them. Daub means patches, which has been like printed. Daub means print patch. It was lichen. Lichen is kind of moss variety. It's a species. Lichen is a variety of moss. And beneath those big rocks, there was ice which is hanging there. Hunk means layers, which was hanging there in hunks, in those lines, in those layers, and they were making permanent shade in those empty spaces. Besides beneath those rocks, they were looking like they were shades, like they were just kind of taking place, rest place there. And then I felt some kind of pressure building in my ears. I held my nose and I snorted. Snort means to make sound through the nose, just like we do when we have something in our nose. So we just snort to take that thing out. And then I cleared my nose, and then I felt my ears better. He says, when we have pressure in the air, we just make sure that the air that is building up inside the nose, we just clear it. So it takes that passage, makes the passage clear. We breathe easily. मैं एक बात समझ गया था कि ये जो विशालकाय क्रोधित, ये जो गुस्से से भरे हुए तिब्बतियन जो ये विशालकाय कुत्ते हैं, ये चीन के दरबार में इतने प्रसिद्ध क्यों थे शिकारी कुत्तों के रूप में। अब इसको समझना मुश्किल नहीं था। और पुराने समय में इनको तिब्बत से लोग जो जाते थे वो एक गिफ्ट के रूप में, तोहफे के रूप में इस सिल्क रोड से लेकर के जाते थे चीन में। अब हमको बर्फ से ढकी हुई पहाड़ियां दिखने लगी थी जो क्षितिज पर ठहरी हुई थी, क्षितिज पर दिखती थी। अब हमने घाटी में प्रवेश किया जिसमें नदी थी काफी चौड़ी, लेकिन ये पूरी की पूरी नदी बर्फ से ढकी हुई थी। क्लॉक कहते हैं ढकने के लिए। और ये चमक रही थी, सफेद सूरज की रोशनी में ग्लिंट कर रही थी, चमक रही थी। जो ट्रेल था, जो रास्ता था, पहाड़ी रास्ता, जिस ट्रैक पे वो चल रहे हैं, जिस रास्ते पे हम जा रहे थे, ये नदी के किनारे किनारे चिपक के चलता था और मुड़ता था। बीच बीच में बड़े मियांडर्स आते थे, बड़े पहाड़ बीच बीच में मियांडर्स आते थे, बड़े बड़े पत्थर आते थे, उनके कारण से ये सड़क मुड़ती थी। और धीरे धीरे हम ऊंचाई की तरफ जाने लगे थे, घाटी धीरे धीरे बंद होने लगी थी। जैसे जैसे हम बढ़ते रहे, रास्ता और ज्यादा मुड़ता गया और जो सवारी जैसे जैसे हम आगे चलते रहे और ज्यादा मोड़ आते गए और हमें और ज्यादा झटके लगने लगे। बम्प कहते हैं झटकों के लिए। अब इस समय स्थान की जो गाड़ी थी इस समय जो गाड़ी थी वो लगातार तीसरे गियर में चढ़ रही थी। अब रास्ता नदी से दूर जाता था, उस बर्फ वाली नदी से, और अब ऊंचाई की तरफ रास्ता जा रहा था, इसलिए मेहनत ज्यादा करनी पड़ती थी स्थान को और गाड़ी को। बीच बीच में बड़े पत्थर स्पोर्ट हो रखे थे, स्पोर्ट कहते हैं उभरने के लिए, बड़े पत्थर उभरे हुए थे, उन पर छाप लगी हुई थी। डॉब कहते हैं छाप के लिए, छपना। उन पर बड़े बड़े छाप पड़े हुए थे, पैचेस के, टुकड़ों के। एक नारंगी रंग के चमकदार लाइकन शैवाल की प्रजाति है, वो उन पे छपे हुए थे। और उन बड़ी चट्टानों के नीचे बर्फ की परतें लटकी हुई थी। हंक कहते हैं परत के लिए। बर्फ चिपकी हुई थी, उनकी परतें बनी हुई थी, और उस कारण से वो जो अंदर जो जगह थी वो ऐसा लगता था जैसे वो एक परमानेंट शेड बन गई थी, जैसे बैठने की कोई जगह बन गई थी जहां पर आप बैठ सकते हैं। मुझे धीरे धीरे अपने कानों में दबाव महसूस हुआ, और इसको कम करने के लिए मैंने अपनी नाक को दबाव डाला, जो मेरे नाक के अंदर स्नॉट कहते हैं, नाक से सांस छोड़ना, नाक से आवाज करना, मैंने किया ताकि मेरे कान साफ, मेरे जो नाक है वो साफ हो जाए, या मेरे तो प्रेशर है, मेरा जो दबाव है कान पे वो कम हो जाए. Let's see word meanings. Ferocious, savagely fierce, cruel or violent. Silk Road. The Silk Road derives its name from the highly lucrative trade of silk textile that were produced almost exclusively in China. Tribute, gift, offering, gathering, an assembly or meeting, especially one held for a specific purpose. Clogged means filled up or crowded so as to obstruct passage. Glinting means shining. Trail is a trail, also known as a path or track, is an unpaved lane or small paved road. It could be. Ferocious means विशाल दैत्याकार, गुस्से से भरे हुए. सिल्क रोड का नाम उस सिल्क के टेक्सटाइल से आता है, उस सिल्क के कपड़ों से आता है जो पुराने समय में चीन में बहुतायत में पैदा किया जाता था. उस सिल्क के कारण से, उस रेशम के कारण से इसको रेशमी मार्ग कहते हैं. ये व्यापारिक मार्ग है. ट्रिब्यूट कहते हैं किसी को कोई गिफ्ट देना. गैदरिंग मीन्स मीटिंग, एक जगह पे आकर के जब आप जमा होते हैं उसको गैदरिंग कहते हैं. क्लॉग्ड कहते हैं जमना, छप जाना. ग्लिंट माने चमकना. ट्रेल रास्ता, पथ. Meanders, river, stream or road meanders. It follows a route that is not straight or direct. Bumpier, toss, spontaneously up and down movement. Spotted, arising out of the ground. Spotted, arising out of the ground. Daub, carelessly coat or smear a surface with a thick or sticky substance. Lichen, a symbiotic association of algae or cyanobacteria and fungi that occurs worldwide on various surfaces. Hunk, a large piece of something, especially food, cut or broken off a large piece. Snort means to make an explosive sound by forcing air quickly up or down the nose. Meanders means मुड़ना, जब कोई रास्ता कहीं से मुड़ता है, कोई भी चीज जब मुड़ता है किसी कारण से, मुड़ जाना, बदल जाना. बम्पियर मीन्स ऊपर नीचे उछलना. स्पोर्ट कहते हैं जब कोई चीज बाहर उभार निकल आए, उभरा हुआ. डॉब कहते हैं छपना, कोई चीज जब छप जाती है, कहीं कोई चीज का निशान दिखता है. लाइकेन एक मिक्सचर है एल्गी का, कैनोबैक्टीरिया का और फंगी का. ये अलग अलग जगह आपको अलग अलग रंग रूप में पूरी दुनिया में आपको दिखाई देते हैं. हंक, कोई चीज, बड़ी सी चीज जब लटकी हुई हो. स्नॉट, अपने नाक को साफ करना दबाव से, जोर से. We struggled round another tight bend and Hassan stopped. He had opened his door and jumped out of his seat before I realized what was going on. Snow, said Daniel as he too exited the vehicle, letting in a breath of cold air as he did so. A shroud of the white stuff lay across the track in front of us, stretching for maybe 15 meters before it pettered out and the dirt trail reappeared. The snow continued on either side of us, smoothing the abrupt bank on the upslope side. The bank was too steep for our vehicle to scale, so there was no way round the snow patch. I joined Daniel as Stan stepped on to the encrusted snow and began to slither and slide forward, stamping his foot from time to time to ascertain how steady it was. I looked at my wristwatch. We were at 5,210 meters above sea level. The snow did not look too deep to me, but the danger wasn't its depth, Daniel said, so much as its icy top lay. We moved ahead and just we took a tight bend of the road. Stan stopped the car. He had just opened his door and he jumped out of his seat. He jumped out from his seat before I just could come to know that what is happening. Then Daniel also said snow, and he said and exited from the vehicle. And as he went out, he let the door open and the cold breath of an air came in. Before us there is a swath of the white stuff. There was white snow there. Swath means a long strip. It was lying across on our way. And it was up to somewhere between 15 meters. And before it pettered out, petter means growing less. And before it, that stretch of, and before that snow would grow less, it was up to 15 meters. And then after that, we could see once more the trail, the road. We could not see the road till 15 meters. The snow continued on either side of us. There was snow all over us. And because of this, the upslope side means going up, because they are moving up the mountain. So banks were quite smooth. Bank means those both sides of the road. They were smooth. So there was chances of car to turn, to turn and to fall down. Because of this smoothing banks, there was chance of the car to just topple down. And for our vehicle, it was quite tough to scale that. Scale means to move ahead, to scale means to gain a height. And because of this, it was hard for us to gain that height, to move that vehicle to move up. So we could not see any other way than moving around that patch, snow patch. That means moving out of the road, bypassing the road. And I moved out also and I joined Daniel. As we saw, Stan just moved to that patch and he just stepped on it. Just check this encrusted. Encrust means to check the crust to make sure how the crust of the snow. Crust means the base surface. He just checked the surface of the snow and he tried to slither and slide. Slither and slide means to move ahead by sliding. He slowly tried to move ahead, to slide ahead. And in between that, he was stamping his foot also. Stamp means hit. He was hitting foot also to make it ascertain. Ascertain means to make it more certain. He was trying to get it certain that how sturdy was the snow there. Sturdy means tough, hard. How hard was the snow? He was checking that through, kicking the snow there. Then I looked at my wristwatch and it showed that we were at somewhere 5,210 meters from the sea level. Then Daniel said, snow is not the problem. The problem is how deep it is. Because the top layer is not the problem. The depth is the problem. How much deep that snow is. हम और आगे बढ़े और हमें एक तीखा बैंड मिला, एक तीखा मोड़ मिला और जैसे उस मोड़ पे हम पहुंचे, स्टान ने गाड़ी रोक दी। तुरंत वो अपनी गाड़ी से बाहर कूदा, इससे पहले कि मुझको समझ में आता क्या हो रहा है। और उसके साथ ही डेनियल भी गाड़ी से बाहर निकला कहते हुए बर्फ। और जैसे वो बाहर निकला, गाड़ी के अंदर एक ठंडी हवा का झोंका आया। तब मैंने देखा कि हमारे सामने एक स्वाद कहते हैं पट्टी के लिए, एक बर्फ की सफेद पट्टी फैली हुई थी, जो लगभग कोई 15 मीटर तक फैली हुई थी। इससे पहले कि हमको दोबारा रास्ता नजर आता, पेटर आउट कहते हैं, हल्का पड़ना, नजर आना, छटना। हमारे दोनों तरफ बर्फ थी और इस कारण से जो बर्फ के जो किनारे थे, इस कारण से जो रोड का किनारा था, दोनों के दोनों ऊपर की तरफ, हम क्योंकि अप स्केल चढ़ रहे थे, हम ऊपर की तरफ चढ़ रहे थे पहाड़ पे, वो पूरे के पूरे जो दोनों तरफ के किनारे थे रोड के, बड़े महीन हो गए थे, वो चिकने हो गए थे, तो आसान नहीं था जाना। और हमारी इस कारण से गाड़ी को ऊपर चढ़ना, स्केल करना माने ऊपर चढ़ना मुश्किल था। अब सड़क के बीच से जाना मुश्किल था, तो हमारे पास एक ही रास्ता बचा हुआ था कि हम, चूंकि सड़क के किनारे जाना मुश्किल था, तो अब हमारे पास सड़क के बीचों बीच जाने के अलावा कोई रास्ता नहीं था। मैं जाकर के डेनियल के साथ खड़ा हुआ और इस बीच स्थान जाकर के उस बर्फ की पट्टी पर चला गया। उसने उसकी सतह को देखा, बर्फ की सतह को, और धीरे धीरे उस पर खिसकने लगा और बीच बीच में अपने पांव को मारता था, स्टैम्प करता था। इस बात को निश्चित करने के लिए, असर्टेन मींस निश्चित करना, कि वो जो बर्फ की सतह थी वो कितनी सख्त थी, स्टडी माने सख्त। मैंने अपनी घड़ी में देखा, हम कोई लगभग 5,210 मीटर की समुद्र तल से ऊंचाई पर थे। हमारी जो इस समय स्थिति थी वो समुद्र तल से 5,210 मीटर की ऊंचाई पे थी। तब डेनियल ने मुझसे कहा, क्योंकि मुझको बर्फ गहरी नहीं लगती कि कोई ज्यादा गहरी बर्फ होगी, लेकिन इसकी गहराई महत्वपूर्ण नहीं है, बल्कि इसकी सतह वो हमारे लिए दिक्कत है। उसकी जो फिसलने वाली सतह है वो हमारे लिए समस्या पैदा करेगी। Daniel made me understand that the depth of the snow is not a problem, but its layer. Because if that is too smooth, then the car will not be able to move ahead. It will slip on it. The car will slip off. So that the icy top layer of that patch is dangerous to us. That icy top layer is dangerous because car will slip off. Let's see word meanings. Shwad, a broad strip or area of something. Pettered, decrease or fade gradually before coming to an end. Scale means associated here with climbing up. Scale here is associated with here. Scale in this chapter is associated with climbing up. Encrusted, covered or scale associated here with climbing up. Encrusted, covered or decorated with a hard surface layer. Slither and slide. Slither conveys a more sinuous and twisting movement, while slide emphasizes a smooth and controlled motion. Ascertain means to make sure. Study means hard. श्वाद का मतलब होता है एक लंबी पट्टी, एक विस्तार. पेटर कहते हैं छटना, हल्का पड़ जाना. स्केल का यहाँ पर जो संबंध है वो चढ़ाई से है, चढ़ना. एनक्रस्ट का मतलब होता है किसी चीज को ढक देना, किसी चीज के ऊपर छाप देना. स्लाइड, स्लिदर एंड स्लाइड का मतलब है धीरे धीरे हल्के मूवमेंट के साथ आगे बढ़ना और धीरे धीरे आगे खिसकना. असर्टेन मतलब होता है निश्चित करना. स्टडी मतलब है सख्त. स्टडी का मतलब सख्त होता है. So I hope you have understood the first part till where we have finished today. Let's see now the points we have discussed throughout this slide. First one is about the author, then theme of the story, then summary of the lesson, understanding the text, and the glossary. Question number 1. Where is the writer going? Question number 2. What does Stan say about the ice? Question number 3. What does Kora mean? Question number 4. What is Khan? Question number 5. What is Silk Road and what is the importance of it for us? Question number 6. What difficulties did they face in their road journey? I hope you must have understood. This was the first part of this chapter. We'll soon meet with the second part of this chapter. Till now, take care, be happy. See you again. Thank you very much.